your ancestors were genocided by the British. You're married to someone who's got British heritage. So there's that thing with Afrikaners, especially the older ones, of that hatred for the British because they colonized us, they oppressed us and everything else.
Don't you think it's enough for white people en masse to say we don't like this song, that it can just be considered, okay, let's not sing this song?
No, I don't think that white people have the moral authority to speak to black people.
not demanding it. I'm just saying.
No, even
can we
us.
not?
I don't. After what black people have been through, I don't think that white people have the right to ask anything of us.
Yeah, but what you're doing is you saying that that white person that was a vile racist in the 80s is exactly the same white person that is now 18 years old and don't like the song.
Have you been to any of these commercial farms for oranges or anything else?
Yeah.
Do you know that you can't eat any of the A-grade stuff? You can't touch it.
Yeah.
It's for export. So all the farmers, 100% of the commercial farmers are not about food security in South Africa. They're not about feeding us.
Food and the menu. If you love the menu, spread word. Let everybody know out there. Yeah, we appreciate it. How was the Mzek's Kitchen lunch?
It was amazing. It was very nice. I love rice.
You're buying a scale at me plate.
I am not. Telling the truth.
Oh, you enjoyed it for real?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. I appreciate your time and thank you very much for enjoying our food.
Thank you.
Mzek's Kitchen, welcome. This is a birthday issue. Birthday is 28th of May. As we are watching this, this was recorded just a day before my birthday.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
May. Tomorrow's my birthday, bro.
I did not know that. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. Ronaldo told me that.
What type of friend are you, dude?
Listen, I'm a business partner.
I brought you one
that's it.
too.
I'm the friend that benefits.
So there you go, brother.
It's so dope to have you, bro.
You know, there's a friend that gives, and then there's the friend that takes.
It gives us a nice pair of socks. Oh, they're written tag.
I'm the taker. I'm the taker.
Because what do they call the 49ers that left?
The footseekers.
Footseekers.
Yeah, and the great tag. Yeah. Actually, I need to wear these right now.
Footseekers, yeah.
Because wherever I go, it goes tag.
So the hat I'm wearing is Izandla by Don Tandega King. The t-shirt, you know, is Mzek's Kitchen. We don't sell it yet, but there's a big demand for it. Wow. Do order the Mzek's Kitchen menu. Go check out on Uber Eats. Check it out on Mr. D as well. If you're around Sandton, Rosebank, we are opening a new branch in Rosebank. At the end of June, we are launching our second branch. Our first branch is Sandton and surrounding areas. Our second Mzek's Kitchen branch will be in Rosebank, launching at the end of June.
Don't worry.
You've been asking for him? Yo, he's even wearing the socks. You know it.
I cut my toenails. I just took off the socks my ex-sister-in-law bought me.
Yay.
So, you know, that's a great replacement.
No, good.
This is the most I'll speak. Thank you, bro, for making it.
All good, man.
Yeah.
And happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thank you, man. I
You're
appreciate
like
it.
30 now, yeah?
I'm 46. I'm no longer OG. I'm now a timer.
Hold on, there's a 3-year gap or a 2-year gap between the two of you?
I don't know.
42.
Oh, is it? You're in your 40s?
Yeah.
Oh, you look after yourself, bro. I thought you were in late 30s.
You're in the 80, eh? Or
Yeah,
79?
79, yeah.
Or 79, so yeah.
79.
So it's a small...
So you're chilling with your Grootman.
Yeah, I'm a good man army. Yeah, I mean, so we're having a chat with Ronaldo a little bit outside, you know, catching up, and the guys are like, yo, no, come on, let's start shooting, let's make that content. And it's like, for me, now that we're doing this show and we're doing a whole lot of these interviews, I did one with Peter Kreil. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, unfortunately I did. Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Why, are you also one of those people complaining that I was interrupting too much?
No, not at all.
I wasn't interrupting too much.
I'm happy that you interrupted because it just stopped him speaking so much shit.
Come on.
No,
I'm with those people.
No.
I could feel you interrupting. There was a time I was even like,
but
give him a chance to finish.
Yeah, that I
Don't do the same today with Ronaldo. Give him a chance.
Trust me, I'll do worse. No. I'm not doing it like that. No.
Let your followers know that you at least listen to them.
No. I do listen to them, but what they don't get is that sometimes for you guys as the audience, right? You want a certain thing. Right? And the person that's creating the content, he wants a certain thing because he's trying to show you something. So I was trying to make sure that I give Peter Kreil a chance to not talk about his normal talking points. All the things he's ever said on his TikTok, when he starts going into there, no. I don't want to hear what people have heard on your TikTok. I want to humanize you. I want them to talk about the times you went to school. You know what I mean? I want to talk about how your upbringing contributed to your activism right now, you know, because number one, he's white. So intrinsically, for me, any white person, every white person, actually, not any, every white person that speaks for black people, I don't like. I don't. NOTA, can speak for black people because I'm a black person. And I don't know any black person that needs a white person to speak on their behalf.
But I don't think he assumed that he's speaking for black people.
No, I'm not talking
about
his
narrative.
I'm not talking about Peter.
Okay.
I'm just saying in general, anyone. I find it very insulting as well.
But I understand.
Do you understand?
I understand where you're coming from.
Now, in a situation like we're in South Africa, also, we do need white people to speak. Oh, sorry. I was like, I thought we were advertising a brand that's not supposed to be. I was like, we're advertising 7-Eleven. That's the size of this set. You know what I mean? Sorry. So yeah, I don't need any person to speak on my behalf, right? But as South Africans, because of the history that we've got, right? It always pleases us when we hear that the other side understands what we're going through. So we'll always gravitate towards that. So for me, I don't mind that people were angry at me in the comments because the point of that episode was to make, especially our black audience, because that's our predominant audience. Not to say that we're not for everybody else, but predominantly the people that we speak to, the languages that we speak, the things that we grew up with, is things that resonates with black people. So naturally, they're the ones who gravitate towards this platform. I did not now want those people to now come in with that mind. So sometimes I need to play the bad cop. Sometimes I need to be the annoying one in the episode. Why? Because I know that the audience is then going to have empathy with the person that is also there. So we don't want to bring people onto a platform to make a soundbite or a snippet that's going to embarrass them. We want the person to be endeared with our audience. We want our audience to be like, wow, I never knew this much about this person, or I never knew that this, or I never knew that me and him shared the same story. I never knew I related like that with this person. And then I now will follow him. I now will subscribe. And our supporters on this platform, they follow people. They subscribe. People see their numbers go up. You know what I mean? People see their customers buying in. So that's the one thing that I needed to get out of Peter, right?
So the short version of this is he's saying that you guys are playing checkers and he's playing chess because he played you on that one.
No, I'm playing Mrabarab. I'm playing Mrabarab.
Scope deploy.
Yeah, no, I'm playing Mrabarab.
Ludo.
Yeah. No, I don't know how to play Ludo. Yeah, because people used to play with money. So any game that ended up being played with money, Mrabaraba, okay, yes. But we used to play with our grandparents a lot. So there wasn't much gambling. But as soon as it became gambling, I cannot get involved. I've never gambled in my life, never played the lottery. So I rolled the dice on that Peter Kreil interview by just like jabbing him, poking him, you know what I mean, getting out. So I hope that you guys watch it. I hope you get a chance to watch it. Get another perspective. What is your opinion on white people that come out and speak on behalf of black people?
I don't have a problem with it. The problem I have is when they take a voice away from a black individual that has got the lived experience. I think that's a problem that a lot of white people have that's more center right. Because, you see these individuals that constantly jump from one topic to the next, and they never stick to a topic until it's resolved, if that makes sense. So I don't have an issue with any white person that feels the way that they do and want to relay a message or speak on behalf of an individual. Problem I have is when that voice becomes louder and more predominant, and then it takes away an opportunity from a black individual, colored, or Indian individual that could have said that. A great example is Dan, what's his surname again?
Corder.
Dan Corder.
He's been on this platform before.
Yeah, so Dan,
he was on Piers Morgan last night.
But now you see what I'm saying. So Dan was there now to give the other side of the coin, because I believe Adams Roots and Gareth Cliff was on there. So that's obviously a different perspective that they give.
But that seems quite about right. He's speaking to all whites.
Yeah, but that's my point. So Dan was there to give the left side, like the leftist view, and I think that they took away an opportunity there.
So who else was there? Sorry, I didn't watch. Did you watch it?
No, I haven't.
watch it.
I just
watch
heard. I don't think it's out yet. I just heard of who's going to be on the panel.
No, it's not out now when we're recording.
Okay.
But by the time they see, they would have
episode.
watched it and they'll be able to report back. But please,
There
continue.
might have been a token black individual. I don't know, but that is what.
But that's not the point.
My biggest frustration with the woke left, specifically the woke white left, is that, in my opinion, I can see this a mile away. They drive a narrative not because they actually care about the cause. It's because they want to get followers. They want to be a token white. They want to be Khaleesi that is dragged,
Costa Titch.
like black and.
You remember Costa Titch?
Yeah.
No, man, he's past, bro.
No. I'm just saying they want to be like. No, I don't mean it in a bad way. I don't mean it in a bad way. But I'm just saying like they want to like. Oh, I'm the white guy that's hip with black people, and therefore I get a following.
So if I say woke left, name 3 people quickly for me if you can.
That okay, woke left. Okay, well I wouldn't
Woke white left.
I would just call them
just woke left.
I just call them woke because
Okay,
I don't.
woke.
Yeah, because also the wokeism it's like it's appropriated from black slang culture, and being woke is about being awareness. So
In South Africa, 3
no,
top of your head that pops up.
Max Dupré.
Yeah. White.
Steven Grootes.
White.
And
You think Stephen Grootes is woke white left?
Yeah.
do you know white people that listen to Steven? You don't know white people, that's the thing. That's why we're having this conversation. We're having this conversation because, I know white people too well, and too many black people don't know white people well enough,
So you consider Peter Krill woke white left?
No, I'm looking for a third name. I'm looking for a third name.
WWL, woke white left.
Yeah.
You consider Peter woke white left?
I think he's a psyop that's been created by mainstream media.
Come
to drive
on,
a
psyop,
narrative.
bro.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
No, I just think I don't think he's a psyop. I think any white person that speaks to black issues right now can be exploited by mainstream media to get views
For their own personal agenda.
They want an audience. They don't want relevance. They don't want to build your story, and that's why I shaped that interview to interrogate him so that we can get the true story, so that people can relate with him. Because we're not using this white face for relevance. We're not using Ronaldo so that we can be relevant. And no, we want to ensure that Ronaldo is able to speak to our audience and they can understand him. And also at the same time, we curate the way in which he is presenting his message so that it is palatable to our audience as well.
Yeah, but if you look at what was Markovic? What was the guy that was the EFF prompted up as this white Jewish child?
Yes, the one who was wearing a suit.
Markovic or something.
Yes,
what happened to him? Because he was going to be, the media.
I'm still looking for a third name. Please give me a third guy. Please, I can't. I said Steve.
No, but okay, so you made the point that I was making. So 2, I asked you to name 3 woke people, not white people, and the 2 of the 3 that you mentioned were white individuals.
No. Those are the white people I thought of.
Okay.
But in terms of black woke people, I mean, a lot of them.
So the long answer to the question is, I don't mind them having their views, and I don't mind them if they do great work and spread awareness. The problem I have is when they take that opportunity away from a black individual. And I'll tell you why. I've hosted many black individuals on my channel that fundamentally disagree with who and what I am. And we had the best conversations, the best type of conversations. Whereas if I had a woke whitey on, the problem was always that it was very aggressive. It came across almost that they have to disagree with me just fundamentally based on the principle that I'm seen as a right-wing individual when I'm not. I'm
but
centered.
you know that the woke whites are the saints of the world. They're holier than thou. Why would you expect them to talk to you with respect?
They're holier than thou.
Thanks for proving.
No, I'm
my
just
point.
asking. Like that's a ridiculous demand of you. You want them to speak to you with respect.
Yeah.
No, you're a dirty white to them. You understand? You need to be sanitized.
I'm not.
Like, I mean, like, that's just the truth of the matter. Like, I understand. You must remember that as a black person, all the woke whites, they talk shit about every other white person to us to endear themselves. Those whites, bona, you know what I mean? Those, like, emapitori. Lamapunu that used to speak Setswana, Sepedi, MATUT, and all these places. You know, there were those Amapunu who would come to our parties, dance, you know what I mean?
Those who speak African languages?
Yeah.
You see, there's a lot of white people speak African languages online.
As a black person,
yeah,
you will be able to find white people that speak African languages. Because when they see you, they'll be like, let me speak an African language, you know, get closer to you.
Diakuva.
Oh, yeah.
Matiba said that. What did Matiba say again about knowing people's languages?
Yes, if you speak to, in a man's...
if you speak to a man in his language, then you speak to his heart.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yes. You know the whites, they know Matiba. They know Matiba.
As Jacob Zuma said, you know, listen properly.
Listen properly.
Listen properly.
Me now want to start. I'm not going to do much talking. I'm actually happy that this eventually is happening. You do know we've been speaking a lot about having you on the platform for quite some time. We've had our audiences asking for it, and it's great to have you here. The first thing I want to ask you about is your racial issues with the public. And sometimes when we spoke about it earlier, some political parties or constituencies, they tend to use certain individuals for their own benefit at the time when they're trending. So what is the real story from your side? Because from an outside person looking in my mind, RENALDO GOUWS is a racist. RENALDO GOUWS does not deserve to be in parliament, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Who is RENALDO GOUWS, and what do you have to say about all of that stuff to clear the elephant in the room and continue with our conversation?
Cool. So I was making YouTube videos since 2008, and a lot of people could hear on the accent, and because YouTube was quite, so not right. Yeah. So YouTube was very much still an overseas platform. So what happened was I made content, people would pick up on my accent and ask, where are you from? And I would say South Africa. And then, you know what you do when you're a YouTuber? When people in the comments ask you to make more content based on something, that is what they want. So you provide it for them. So then they asked me, like, well, talk about South Africa. What's happening in South Africa, and how would you deal with, you know, what are the issues? And then that's when we started talking about politics. And then when I got interested in politics, remember, in 2010, I wasn't a politician. I wasn't involved in politics. I was just seeing what's happening in this country. So in 2009, 2010, I started making videos about the problems that's facing everybody in South Africa. And I would say that back then I was considered like a little bit woke, because I was like, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was a farce. They didn't go far enough. The fact that, you know, black people now are, well, back then still have to live where they don't have toilets, where they don't have access to running water, electricity. All of that stuff was mentioned. And it's difficult because, you know, for people watching, I think they might have only seen 1 or 2 videos of mine. And the one video is obviously the video that was snipped and everybody knows about. But in 2010, that was the first time that Julius Malema sang Kill the Boer publicly when he was the ANC youth leader. Remember, that was 2010, was a World Cup year. So for me, I was shocked to hear that in a democracy that is now 16 years old, we heard a song like that being sung publicly. So I was angry because I'm passionate about South Africa. Even on that third degree, there was a third degree interview with me about that video. And then in that video, I said, the problem I have is that the government isn't doing enough to help South Africa move forward. Not white people, but South Africa. So ultimately, I made that video. Now, you must also remember that video was now done 15 years ago. In the context of what I did, I said, how would you feel if I sang kill the boer, kill the farmer, but if I twisted the words, because back then the term boer was derogatory. Now, today, it's difficult because people use the word boer to refer to Afrikaners and they don't mean it in an offensive way. But then you get people that say, man, you're a boer, you're a settler, pig, So that's that context to it as well. Now, if I could go back and tap myself on the shoulder and say, Ronaldo, would you use those terms? Obviously not, because the Overton window shifts. So what is acceptable to use as an example back then might not be acceptable in the future. And it's definitely not acceptable. I condemn the use of those words. The K word and the N word, a white person should not utter it. A black individual can own that, like what the Americans have done with the N word, but that's up to the community to decide.
Yeah, nigga.
You see, that is also so absurd, because hip hop is one of my favorite genres of music,
And now you can't say every
Biggie
second
Smalls,
word. Okay, you're a Biggie fan. Okay,
I'm a Biggie fan, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a Tupac fan. Tupac is
We like to discuss.
Tupac is good though. You see, as a white guy, I like both, Like, as a white guy, I can do Tupac and Biggie.
You can do the East and the West.
But yeah, so Ready to Die, one of the best albums. Afterlife, another brilliant. Hypnotize is probably the best B.I.G. song ever. But what I'm saying is...
Kicking the door, bro, and 10 crack commandments.
So...
No. More money, more problems.
Shiny suits.
It is, but hey,
they were floating. They had zero gravity. What are you talking about? Do you see that music video?
The hypnotized video in the sky. You think Diddy's thinking about all of those things now in that cell?
I want to have a talk to you about Diddy. I want to know if you still
about my
support
guy,
Diddy.
man.
To the death.
Okay.
I love Diddy.
But let me finish my one racist story.
I love our role models, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so just to wrap it up, because this story has been spoken to death. To the people out there, don't take my word for it. Go and check my content from 2010. I did charitable work. I spoke out against people that use the K word in a derogatory manner to attack. My intention back then, as wrong as it is to use the K and N word, was just to say, guys, can we not divide this nation? We just came out of something. Remember 2008 and 2007, that period was good. The economy was growing. Unemployment was at the lowest levels. Things were starting to move in the right direction.
Yeah, there was a global financial crisis, but we didn't really feel it.
We didn't feel it. We only felt it like 3 or 4 years later. But now the question is, was that because of the shift in Jacob Zuma becoming the president, all of those different aspects? My point that I made in my very crude way was just, guys, we are better together. Let's not do these songs that divide people. And that was it. And then, of course, 15 years later, because in between that time as well, from 2000...
You've been on YouTube for 18 years, so people need to understand that.
Yeah. For the first 3 years, I didn't make a video. I took a gap for 5 years. But my videos have always been what is best for South Africa, all South Africans. It was never a white channel. It was never this is what white people need to do, because if there's one thing Afrikaners don't like, is to be told what to do, specifically by other whites. They don't like it. Afrikaners don't like the leader concept. They don't buy into that narrative. They don't like to be
led by the people. Afrikaners are very much like Zulus.
Yeah.
In terms of their demeanor. Not to say that their cultures are the
even
same.
Me sitting, I'm not going to agree or disagree with you, because then I'm speaking on behalf of them. No,
okay.
I don't know. Because
I saw your homie Roman Kabanek. He did a video. I'm actually chatting to him this week as well. He did a video where he compared Afrikaners and Zulus, and I was like, it's a little bit touchy here, because the Afrikaner comes from this region, but came as people that had a large settler contingent, whereas the Zulus stayed here, survived here. You know what I mean? They didn't have uncles in Europe that were sending them an e-wallet or M-Pesa or what do they call it? Mukuru. The Afrikaners, the British, and all the Europeans, they had Mukuru being sent through. You know what I mean? They had Mukuru being sent through. So our native tribes, you must remember that they've been resisting colonialism for 500 years. Our languages are still spoken. Even our smallest tribe is bigger than any of the white nations. The English nation is not as big as the Tsongas or the Vendas. You understand what I'm saying? The Afrikaner on the white side of it is not as big as any of those. So as much as colonialism and apartheid, crime against humanity. You can't say that native black South Africans were genocided, like were wiped out. You understand? Even if that was the goal of the settlers or anyone amongst them, they did not achieve that goal. So you can't say they conquered us. You know what I mean? So I don't take offense because to take offense means that I'm a conquered person. I know my grandfathers for 13 generations on. I don't know many white people that know that much of their family tree. You know what I mean? I'm very proud of my heritage. My roots are very deep. I know like where my language started, like the place where my language started, where it was first spoken. The stories of the people that lived during those times are part of my folklore. So I'm very proud of who and what I am. And I've got a very deep history. Afrikaans as a language is celebrating 100 years, right? White Afrikaners came as Dutch settlers, as, you know, Flemish indentured servants from Belgium, because there was that time where the Dutch Empire had conquered Belgium.
Was German, French, Dutch.
Yeah, well, yeah. But Belgium was conquered by the French at some point. It was conquered by the Prussian Empire at some point, and then reconquered by the Dutch also at another point. So all of that mixture, right, came here. My issue with what Roman was saying, right, is that out of all the groups that have come, the white groups that have come and naturalized, right, the Afrikaner created a subculture, his own identity with the soil, but he only did that out of necessity because he was left as a refugee here. You understand? That's why they had to trek up. There was no ships coming to fetch them. The Cape. They had now they had to survive in Africa. They had to make it. Their kingdom, their empire had fallen. Capitalism had, you know, brought them down. The tulip crisis, you know, in Amsterdam, where capitalism and stock markets started. You know, those are boer interventions. You know what I mean? Boa is a Dutch word for farm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Bowery was the Boa. That's the main street in Manhattan Island in New York that used to take people from the one side to the other side. You know what I mean? Boa, that's a Dutch city. New York City.
Yeah, New York City was founded by Dutch.
Yeah. Yeah,
Dutch.
Is
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Yes, it was
Oh, I
called
didn't
New
know
Amsterdam.
that. Okay.
Yeah,
Amsterdam.
you understand?
That's why have you seen the New York flag?
Yeah.
It'll give a lot of
The American
people-
flag,
No,
right?
no, the New York, like
the New York
city
actual flag, the city
it's,
flag. Yeah.
I think orange.
It's got the
white
Dutch
and
colors,
blue.
the
Orange,
old
white, and
Dutch
blue.
Republic colors.
Okay.
So people will see that and go,
Boer Republic.
yeah.
It's the same people. It's the same history. You know what I mean? They're the experts of land reclamation. They built the Cape Town City Ball out of the ocean, you know?
Yeah.
That was all underwater before, you know? So they brought in their technologies, but their empire fell. And now they couldn't survive. So now they're renaturalizing themselves. The way in which, and we were discussing this earlier, our transition happened, right? Was that there were two white tribes or two white nations, right? The English and the Afrikaners, by the time we now get into the Union of South Africa beyond. And those two white tribes made a pact and a deal. They were oppressing one another. They're at war with one another. The Afrikaners, the Boers, the Dutch, whatever you may call them, they were colonized, they were captured, they were put in concentration camps, you know. They made a settlement and a deal. And that deal was that we will send you in as the managers of the state, right? We will run everything. You will manage everything, right? And then you will be given a position of prominence. And coming from a concentration camp, if I'm a Boer, and I get told, hey, you're now going to rise up, you're going to have rights, you're going to have some land, you can build a family, you're going to have some security. After being abandoned by my own king and kingdom. You must remember, I was sent here by my king. My king then lost his money, got bankrupt, and then all of a sudden I'm stuck at the boarding school. No one's coming to pick me up. That's exactly what it was. You know, when you're waiting for your dad to pick you up and he only comes at 8 and every car looks like his car. Until he finally comes.
I can't relate.
Oh, so sorry.
I was never picked up. That's Vandal was like.
Same here, dude. I also had to walk.
Ah, shame. Yeah, 80s babies. Yeah. Tough luck. So, you know, so now the Afrikaners create this identity, right? And this identity needs to have a mythology behind it, the manifest destiny mythology, all of that stuff. This is the stuff that Peter Gray was telling us about. I don't know if it's whoever it is, right? Whatever the case may be, right? All of this identity, and what that does is that it makes them now endemic to the majority of the population, because the job of management is to suppress the black laborers, to manage the black laborers, right? That is the job of the management. There's the capital guys that run everything right at the top, and then the middle managers, they get the flack from the workers. Have you ever seen someone say, I want the CEO of Nando's? Where have you seen that?
No, they go manager.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the person that you complain to. So the anger, the trap that the British set up for the Afrikaner is that, yes, we're going to give you this management role, you'll be able to lift yourself up, but you'll be hated by the natives of this place. And then from then on, the strategy was then, how do we now endear ourselves to the natives? We become the ones that are empathetic, the liberals. So the English person then got known as the liberal. The Afrikaner got known as the conservative. You understand? And both of them are fighting one enemy, though. Communism or socialism or whatever it is. Right? They're advocates for capitalism. The Dutch were the ones that started it. The English were the ones that perfected it and captured enough land so that the sun does not set on land that is owned by King Charles. Do you know that?
Well, I mean, I'm not that clued up.
No, I'm just saying King Charles. As the sun goes around the earth, every day it touches a piece of land that he owns.
Yeah.
That's how big
the empire was.
You understand what I'm saying? And they stole that whole entire thing from you, the Dutch.
Well, I mean, the Afrikaner wanted to settle in the Cape of Good Hope, and eventually when the British got there, they decided, and then, there was obviously a bunch of turf war that took place. And
no, it wasn't a turf war, it was a battle of empires.
Yeah. And then the Groot Trek happened. The reason that the Afrikaner decided to move into middle South Africa, and then eventually ended up in the area that they did, was just because they wanted to govern themselves. They wanted to do their own thing.
No. I get that. Yeah, okay, but it wasn't because they wanted to govern themselves. The British...
They didn't want the British to rule over them.
No, it wasn't about the British ruling over them. The British were the richest. The British were ruling over everybody. The French were fighting with the British. Everybody was
fighting for the empire.
Now, the thing is that the British, once they became the richest, they wanted to disempower the other empires so that they wouldn't have competition. So the first thing that they did to kill all the other competing empires is what? Kill their labor. How do we kill their labor? We abolish slavery. That's the way they can get free labor. Everywhere they go, they park their ships. They're able to get in, whether it be natives or they're able to import slaves from wherever they've conquered before. And then they're able to build up a nation, an economy, you know what I mean? The whole entire thing. So they wanted to kill everybody off from being able to colonize new land. So they needed to end slavery for that very reason. Right? So that's what precipitated the Groot Trek, is that there was an economic castration of the Boer Republic as it stood at that point in time, as the Dutch Republic. So you could not feed yourself. The British then infused this ideology of basically starving people to death until they submit, so that they can now become your subjects. Everywhere else, they did it to the Boers. They fought the wars and everything else. The Boers then gave up. Dysentery was killing them and everything else. Then they subjected themselves to they subjected themselves to the crown. The Union of South Africa became formed. And the Boers didn't have a majority or a place in the government until 1924. The Boers took ascendancy in 1948, so it took them 24 years to get that right.
Yeah.
Now, at 16 years into our democracy, right? I'm going to go back to where we started, because I wanted to contextualize what I've just said. 16 years into our democracy, Kill the Boer is analogous as a struggle song to any folk music that was about the history of the creation of Afrikaner nationhood. Right? It's like, if we don't want to be colonized, we need to kill the Boer. Right? That's the one thing. Never during apartheid did we have farm murders. The situation in rural South Africa in terms of policing and whatever and access has not changed. In fact, it's gotten more white because of urbanization. A lot more black people are now moving into the cities and everything else, right? During apartheid, Kill the Boer was sung. Yes, it was banned. It wasn't in public platforms. You weren't going to sing it at a stadium unless you knew there were no white people around, right? But it was part of the ethos, and there was motivation to kill the Boer. Yet, we didn't have farm murders.
Well, we don't know.
No, we didn't. Apartheid is passed. We know that period. We didn't have farm
they
murders.
didn't record stats.
No, a black person going onto a white man's farm to kill him.
No. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying there's a big difference between there were
No. There's no white person that can die without it being known. Every white person has an ID. It cannot happen. There's no white people that were buried somewhere in South Africa and then they're unmarked graves. That's only blacks. Only us. Yeah.
So completely understand it during that period.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is what I'm saying. I want to get to the point. So someone who's now coming from, whether you, as a white South African, you will never understand the meaning of that struggle song to you intrinsically. It'll never have the same meaning to you, right? So you'll never understand the motivation of the people that sing it, right? You understand what I'm saying? For me, personally, just to disclaim so that you don't think I'm trapping you, I don't agree with it being sung on a public platform for EFF or anything else, right? Because they're a new movement. They don't come from that struggle that they're singing about, right? And they're appropriating something. But that's neither here nor there. And also the purpose of it is just to annoy white people.
I don't think they're appropriating it. I think they're the grandchildren of the people that sang it.
Yeah, but they're in a new organization, and that organization was founded on the premise that it's going to kill the old organization.
So who should sing it? So nobody should sing it anymore.
If I decide I'm changing my family, I'm changing my surname to Maswangani, I'm not going to sing the Baloi songs.
So who's got the right to sing that song? So nobody has.
No, I'm not saying that no one has the right.
So
everyone has the right to sing that song. What I'm saying is
in
that
2025, it shouldn't be sang.
Okay. The thing is that I'm going to deviate from my point, right?
Sorry, I'm playing devil's
advocate. You're playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, sure.
So I want to differentiate. The reason why I'm saying this is that the EFF is a political party. There's different standards for an individual, a civic organization, a grouping, and a political party. A political party has got representation in legislature and all those things in the Judicial Services Commission. So they pick the judges in the judiciary, and also in some spheres of government, you know what I mean? They're the ones that get appointed into spheres of government. I think only a handful of ministers can be appointed onto cabinet that don't come from parliament themselves, that are not members of parliament. It's very limited. So they're the ones who've got the greatest responsibility of creating or nourishing the soil for the society that they want to see germinating and growing and becoming fruitful. Now, with the EFF's clout chasing using Kill the Boer, for me it cheapens Kill the Boer. It wasn't used for clout chasing. You understand what I'm saying? And also, there was a real struggle when it was being sung. So now, when we're not in that struggle, there's no reason to bring us back there, because
that's
our problem.
I think that's the point that a lot of people have.
That's where we agree. Where we disagree, though, is that by calling for the song to be banned, you're setting a very bad precedent, because the same arguments you're using to say Kill the Boer should not be sung, it's not appropriate, is the same arguments I can use by saying I feel oppressed by singing Distem.
So the reason that I believe that the song should not be sung is not because it hurts my feelings. It's because we live in a country with 84 murders a day. Should we be singing songs about killing people in a violent country?
No.
So let me ask you a question. The old South African flag, are you happy that it's banned? Do you prefer that it should be banned, or should it be?
Can I choose not to answer that question?
That's fine.
But I'm just saying, I don't think any symbols of our history should be erased.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not a fan of the old South African flag.
No, I just don't want to answer specifically on the old South African flag.
Yeah,
because
I can see where you don't like anything being banned, but it doesn't mean that you support it, right?
Yeah.
The point that I'm making is a piece of cloth.
Yeah.
Because let's bring it down to brass tacks. A piece of cloth was banned because of what it represents, right? So does logic then not follow that a song that is asking for people to be killed 31 years into our democracy is not needed in a country where we have 84 murders a day? It's not because it hurts my feelings. It's not because of anything other than, if you think of that song being sung, don't think of Julius Malema. Think of the dumbest person in that crowd.
Yeah.
And then ask yourself, this person might be idolizing Julius Malema. And he is now sent Julius Malema 100 WhatsApps because he's got his private number and the guy's not reaching out to him. And the way in which his head he thinks he can reach out to Julius Malema is to go and do what Julius Malema at every single time at the end of the rally says, kill the boer, kill the farmer. I'm saying, I'm using an example. I'm not saying that's
I want you to explain your point.
The thing is, you only need the dumbest person in a crowd, and it could be a white person, it could be a color. I'm not saying it's a black person, but the dumbest person in that crowd, hear that and go, okay, it's an instruction, and then goes and implements that. That's one death too many. Because if we prevent people from singing that song, we are actually, look, I mean, if we were in a country that had normal murder rates, then I'm assuming that people wouldn't be as offensive and or offended and feel that the song is not building unity. Because ultimately, why should a song like that still be sung?
Because it's a political message. It's not a message to inspire violence.
For you, Nota.
No.
For you.
No.
You can't speak on behalf of everybody else. You can't.
What I'm trying to say is that any white person that can then say a person in the crowd of EFF is stupid just on the fact that they're there for an EFF person is either partisan or racist. You have to choose which one on the side you have to be on, right? The second reason why I would say that is because we don't have a Zulu mach, a Xhosa mach, a Shangani mach, a Tsonga mach, or anything else. Black people have never at any point in time gathered together to kill whites. During apartheid, we did not attack the farms, even though that's where the whites make their money. You understand what I'm saying? So if we really wanted to sabotage the economy of the white man, the MK and Mandela and them wouldn't have been taking down electricity pylons, and all that stuff. And my family members actually did that, So even also this manifesto of everything else, my family members actually taught us the manifestos. When I was a child being brought up, I was taught that us as Black people, we need to resist non-violently, that we come from a non-violent movement, that the killing of civilians is completely forbidden. That is our culture. Just in the same way as you trust an Afrikaner to adhere to their culture, our culture is non-violence. So the suggestion, right, that the inspiration to doing violence against whites will come from a song is a Western thought, because that is Western culture. Westerners are the ones that go around the world savaging people, inspiring. Hitler has only got one ball, the other is in the Albert Hall. Himmler has something similar, and poor old Goebbels has no balls at all. I'm a South African kid. I know that song. That was sung in Britain. That was part of the propaganda message that justified the slaughter of, the Christians in Dresden when they were bombed. You know what I mean? Winston Churchill sent a South African pilot, John Sherwood Kelly, right, to bomb the Bolsheviks during the First World War, right? John Sherwood Kelly is a South African or Air Force member that was given the Victoria's Cross, which is the highest honor. It's like the Medal of Honor in America. And he did not bomb the Bolsheviks, right? So all of that stuff comes from Western culture. And therefore, if you come from a culture that's like that, you must remember that your culture is based on what the leaders do, right? So everybody else that follows. I don't expect someone who's a peasant, Boer farmer or anything else to know the evil intent of the leadership that was in charge at the time. You know what I mean? I don't expect them to predict that, one day we're going to be enemies of Black people because they'll see us as oppressors and all these things. But even though that we weren't really trying to oppress them, we're just trying to build ourselves up from being, in hell. We literally came out of shit. We're living in shit. We're dying in shit. That's what killed the Afrikaners, is dysentery. You know what I mean? It's eating feces, cholera, all that type of shit. Not having sanitary services, like not being civilized. So the Afrikaner had to become a Dutch settler or a former indentured servant who's lost his kingdom, he's lost his identity, who's lost his place in life, right? And then make something of themselves. And through the assistance of their enemy, the people that were killing them already. So already you're in the hands of your enemy, you're going to be used as a tool to kill yourself. So already that the motivation that comes from the Afrikaner, right, is that you have to mistrust everyone because each and every single person has betrayed you. Your king betrayed you. He left you there. You understand? Then the people that then conquered you, they betrayed you. Then the people that you were ruling over, and then you handed the country over because now you're like, okay, let's kill this apartheid idea. It's actually a British idea, but we were just the managers of it. Okay, now we're killing it. Okay, now we voted for a referendum and everything else. Oh, now you want to kill us. Do you understand where that comes from? It comes from being betrayed by everyone. You know, if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And to white people, they only have a hammer. They only have the history of either their victimhood or their conquering. That's the only two histories of white people. There is no history that is not related to war, you know, or conquest or anything else. So that's already where the white person comes from a culture perspective. So that's why even when Sbu and I were having that conversation, when all of this stuff started to come about, you know what I mean, the racial tensions that really festered a lot at the beginning of this year with Trump's inauguration, you know, when we were speaking about it, and on that cited episode that got me sent to the Human Rights Council, our friends, right? They are our friends now, right?
You saw them.
Hey. You've never been there. So
I want to talk about that later. I'll talk about it later.
Say something so you can also go.
this guy has got BCCSA up his.
Yeah, honestly, he's got the
human rights
broadcasting
is for
component.
us
Yeah.
who are podcasters.
No, he's
YouTubers.
got-
Finish your point. I want to come back to it.
Yeah. So now, if you just look at how under threat the white person is, I understand. I'm saying that as a black person who's lived and grown up with white people, I understand why they interpret it like that. But as a black person who's also lived and grown up with black people, I know for certain that no song is ever going to inspire us to kill Ubas.
No, that's according to you.
No. This is-
It's
a little bit.
You can't speak on behalf of other people. You can only speak on behalf of NOTA Beloy. You can only speak on behalf of yourself. So I get it. I mean, and I respect your opinion and I value that you feel that way. But like I said, also your aspect with regards to cultures. Dude, we live in a multicultural society now for 31 years. You want to tell me that there hasn't been a little bit of Dutch influence and a little bit of Xhosa or Zulu influence in, the white Afrikaner sort of way of seeing? Because there has been a transcendence across cultures. So what I'm saying is,
please take this beker. It used to be beker. Until we got the language and then we turned it into beker.
So the point,
sorry, I'm just showing you the Dutch.
that's all good. So the point that I'm making is just that we've got a young generation and a younger generation that I would say is our age, where we saw the shit end of what this country was and then this new hope. Now, what I'm saying is there are people out there that might be influenced that might not live according to what your beliefs of a cultural, a Xhosa or a Zulu cultural society is. And they might be open to the aspect that song might mean that we actually literally want to kill somebody.
Zimbabwean immigrants, maybe. They did it already in their country. They went and attacked the farms. They forced Mugabe to now say we are seizing the land because they did it themselves.
Please let him finish his point.
Yeah, I'm letting him finish. I'm just expanding on it.
Comments. He's not letting me finish. I'm just joking. The point that I'm making is, in 2025, dude, why?
No, I agree with you on that.
Why?
I agree with you, but now
even they did a survey. Thanks, Ibu. They did a thing in which they asked the voters of the different political parties, do they support the singing of the song? I believe it was the EFF were the only party that had over 50%. I think they had 60%. So 40% of the EFF voter base said they don't want the song to be sung. The DA, the Freedom Front Plus, the ANC, MK, all of them.
I don't have a problem with the song being sung. You must remember, right? I have a problem with the EFF being the ones that are singing it.
I have a problem with the song being sung irrespective.
That I understand.
If a white person had to sing that song, I would have a problem with it. If a colored person had to sing that song, I've got a problem with it. This is bigger than Julius Malema. Julius Malema is just doing it for show.
Yes.
But the people that he's singing to across South Africa might not perceive it that way. That's what I'm saying.
I know that I understand, right? And that is your belief from the culture that you come from. Our belief as black people is that song is a struggle song. It comes from history. We know it. We grew up with struggle songs. We grew up with all of these things, right? We've been living with white people for 30 years. We have never killed them once. We didn't kill them even when we had a reason to, when we were being oppressed. we don't believe.
Well, there were killings. I mean,
No. There's no black people that went to go kill white people. We sabotaged electricity pylons, we blew up things. Yes, but we weren't killing. There was no civilian killings. You must remember, I'm telling you, this is our cultural doctrine. All our movements, whether it be the PAC, AZAPO, all of those people, right? The resistance movement was not about now killing civilians. A soldier, SADF guy, yes, he can go. Same with Jonas Savimbi. He can go because he helped them in Angola, right? But in terms of killing civilians, that is not part of our culture. So it becomes very difficult now to have this argument in this discussion that we have, because look at how strongly we are holding on to our beliefs. You're very strongly held in that it just takes one person to kill, and then all of a sudden our fears come into reality, and you don't even want 0 deaths. In fact, you want this minus 0 deaths.
I think we should focus on decreasing the amount of murder that's in this country. The 84 murders a day, a violent sexual crime every few seconds.
Over 80% of those are black people that are being murdered.
And that shouldn't happen.
Now,
I'm not, so
no.
Let me just make it clear. I'm not talking about, hey, I'm a white guy and that's why I don't. I'm saying, let's not sing it because it's not uniting the nation, firstly. And secondly, there's a risk that people would take it as an instruction and go and kill.
Yeah. Now,
I'm not saying, I'm not saying everybody's going to wake up one night and go, kill the Boer. And, I'm not saying Uhuru, Night of the Long Knives, that nonsense. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, let's look at what's happening in South Africa in 2025. Like, let me ask you this. Is racism the biggest issue in South Africa in 2025?
Yes.
Do you believe that? So unemployment,
yes. Racism can be used to distract us from each and every single problem in South Africa. If we're talking about gender-based violence or whatever, it's going to be, oh no, the black people are not being policed enough, or the black people are being over-policed when it comes to gender-based violence. The white people are not policed. When a white man slaps his wife, he can still go back to his job. When a black man does it, he loses every single opportunity. Every single issue that we want to discuss, you throw race in the mix.
Yeah, but you're throwing race into the mix.
No, but that's why I'm saying that the fact that we can always use the race card, and it's an ambulance, it's a, you know what I mean, it's a sprinkler. Every time, let's just throw the race card. I don't want Mama Joy accompanying the Springboks because I don't want my tax money to pay for fans to go to France. You're white. Your point is missed. I defended you on that one. But because of racism.
I mean, how many times does she need to go and...
Well, that's besides the point. But are you seeing how I can use racism and throw it at everything?
Exactly. And that's the point. That's why we are stuck in these bubbles of black podcasters, white podcasters. We need to bridge that gap because mainstream media is not going to do it.
No,
mainstream media feeds off of the racist narrative.
Yes, that's what's our biggest problem, is that mainstream media can feed off of it. A business can feed off of it. Political parties. There's too many people benefiting from stoking racial division amongst us, right? For us as civilians, right? To also continue it. So why is it wrong for me to ask white people, white civilians, to ignore they kill the boy?
Because it's bigger than the EFF. That's why. It's bigger than the EFF. I mean, look at what it's done on the global stage now. I mean, it's removed important talking points. It's distracting people from the important issues, that we are a violent nation, that our expanded unemployment rate is 45%, etc. Like, we have far bigger issues in South Africa in 2025 than racism. We've got unemployment. We've got crime. Strangely enough, those two things, if the government decided, hey, let's employ more police officers, unemployment goes down and crime goes down. So you kill two birds with one stone.
Doctors, nurses, everything.
But the point that I'm making is, we are talking, even look at this now, like we're having a discussion about racism, about kill the Boer and about racism, when there are far more important things to talk about. So it's distracting us from the important topics, because the media will feed this for people day in and day out, because why does the media exist? First and foremost, to turn a profit for their shareholders. Secondly, to report on the news. So they will always latch on to whatever, like Julius Malema says or does, and kill the Boer is another thing that's discussed all over the world. So I believe that we need to get rid of the distractions. Stop singing the song. There's no need for it.
Okay, you're not going to stop them singing the song if they're benefiting from singing it. If Julius is benefiting.
Is there a white genocide in South Africa? Sorry, bro.
No, there's no white genocide taking place. What's the date? 27th. But I can't tell whether tomorrow there might be one. And let me explain why. Because I know that this is a big thing, right? A big topic. There is no white genocide taking place. But because of past genocides, there has been this model, and you know this model, and I'm sure you do, Gregory Stanton's stages of genocide, right? So we have a professor that has looked at
the Western professor.
Yeah, okay.
No, I need to
Gregory Stanton, yeah. So he's looked at what preceded eventual genocide, and there are 10 stages of it.
Which genocides did he study?
The Rwandan genocide. He decided, the Nazi eradication of the Jews.
Bosnia, Herzegovina.
I'm not sure how many, but I know that I think he did more than 2, which I think can give you a picture of what's going to happen. And then it's 10 stages. Doesn't have to happen in stage 1, stage 2. Stage 10 can happen with stage 1. Do you understand? Now, if you look at the description of each stage, like desensitization. Now, Kill the Boer will be a perfect example of that. So desensitization is where, because it's being sung and it's becoming acceptable that you can say something like that, like Kill the Boer. And
but I'm just saying, is it really desensitization if we take it outside of its context? Can we really label it? Because if I sing Kill the Boer in Spain, it means nothing there.
But context, once again, is for you, context is different than for me. So
yeah, but as South Africans, genocide can only happen within our borders, between our peoples. So as South Africans, we understand our context. No, I understand that. I'm saying that we understand the context of Kill the Boer. We understand that it's a thingamajig. Now, when we take what happened in Rwanda, which is a completely different situation from South Africa, it's got its own context as to what led to the genocide, what motivated the genocide. You know what I mean? They also have a violent history like we did.
I hear what you're saying. So let's pull back Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer. Let me give you another example. Desensitization can be opinion pieces. It could be the media that's starting to drive more narratives of dear white people. Many articles being written by various different people saying, hey, you guys need to suck it up. Hey, you need to do this. You need to do that. Then there's classification. For instance, so stage 1 is classification, right? Now, when you fill in a government form, it says African.
I have to put divorced.
Yeah, eventually down there you have to put divorced. You see, you're jumping. And
that's what it hurts me. I'm sorry.
I think you need to go and deal with that.
Look,
shit.
You're pointing your ring. You're pointing your ring at me. You understand? You're triggering me.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll hide it.
You're triggering me with your ring finger.
Classification is number 1. Let's go to race. Any form in South Africa. It's not even white, black, colored Indian anymore. It's African. White, colored Indian. Am I not African?
No.
Okay, well, that's a deeper conversation.
No. I understand that, right?
But I want to stick to this
African
point.
is an ethnicity. So we are Africans by ethnicity. Our ethnic group is African.
Yeah. And what is the Afrikaner? What is that? Afrika?
No. That's fine. That's a culture. That's you creating Afrikaans 100 years ago.
Yeah, but for the last 5 generations or 6 generations, I've known nothing, or my family and Afrikaners has known nothing other than Africa. So
I understand that. I understand. The thing is this: is that I don't think it's relevant because our ethnicity, right, has got nothing to do with our nationality. Whether you're African or not doesn't differentiate whether you can be a South African or not. You could be born in another country, come to this country, become a naturalized citizen, and I will still give you the same respect as a South African, as someone who's a tax-paying citizen who contributes to my roads being plugged, the potholes, or whatever the case may be. So I don't think that the holding on to this African as like...
I'm just using it as an example that like just on a government form, it's already African.
Yeah, no, you already
and
shaped.
Then what? So
there's connotations
so
to
there's
it as
already,
well.
and I mean, there's
so African means formerly oppressed, white, and
So if you look at the 10 stages, and people can go and Google that, look at the stages, and under each stage, we've already on stage 8 out of 10. The only 2 stages that aren't yet, well, one of them is starting to happen. The one that isn't is extermination. So the only thing out of Gregory Stanton's 10 stages is extermination. And then the last stage, which can become can be number one, or it can be the last one, is denial. So denial could be, no, we don't have race-based laws in this country that discriminate against white people. No, there isn't farmers being murdered like Cyril Ramaphosa said in 2018 to Bloomberg when he said there are no killings of farmers in South Africa.
Well, they're not politically or racially motivated killings.
Yeah, but my point is he said that. So there's already denial right there.
I wouldn't call it denial. I'd say that's misrepresentation.
So that's why I'm saying that I'm not counting that as one of the box ticks for one of the stages. So the others, out of the 10, 8 of them are being met. As we speak right now.
Okay, so that's my thing.
Look, I mean, what I don't want to do is I can take out my phone
take
and
them
we
out.
can go stage by stage.
Our viewers want to see this.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Are there race-based laws in South Africa that are?
But before we go there, I just want to qualify this.
Of them.
No, before we go there, I want to qualify this. Before we go to the race-based laws.
So you don't believe they should? Okay, so
yeah, let's stick with the genocide point because I really want.
There's as of the 27th of May, there's no white genocide taking place, and I highly doubt that. And I will do this now. I believe that at least 95% of white people in this country don't believe that there's a white genocide taking place.
Okay.
The concern is how far along we are with the desensitization, with the dehumanization, all of these aspects. That is the concern. So people are concerned of what could happen in a week, a month, a year from now.
It's a concern for white people.
Yeah.
The minority. So I'm just saying in this country.
Yeah.
So it's a concern. It's a minority concern. It's a fringe concern.
I am listening. I'm just.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I also do that all the time. Our viewers will comment and say, So this fringe minority concern about a genocide, whatever stages that the minority perceives, is not a majority belief. For the genocide to actually happen, the belief, the motivation, and it needs to be held by the minority so that they can genocide. By the majority or whoever is in power, so they can genocide this minority. Genocide has happened in South Africa, right? You're of Afrikaner heritage, right? Your ancestors were genocided by the British. You're married to someone who's got British heritage, right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is not thousands of years ago or 500 years ago. It's very recent. Before it was less than 100 years. To the beginning of the Anglo-Boer War.
Yeah, the Anglo-Boer was 1899 to 1902.
The first one. The first and the second.
The first one,
first and the second. You understand what I'm saying? So your birth date is almost 100 years removed from the start of the first Anglo-Boer War. All of that has happened. At any point in time, when I was with my English, with my Afrikaner friends, going to their grandmother's house, the grandparents would hate it when the kids would speak English. And obviously now I'm a black kid. So they're going to speak English inside the house. And now the grandmother just gets annoyed because whenever these black kids are here, now my kids now starting to speak English and everything else. So there's that thing with Afrikaners, especially the older ones, of that hatred for the British because they colonized us, they oppressed us and everything else. Still after that happened over 100 years ago. Still after that, Afrikaners are not going out to go and kill the British, even though they sing songs. You understand? That talk about overcoming the British.
What now?
Delarey is still being sung.
Dude.
No. I understand that, but you see, you dismiss it. The same way I dismiss you have a feeling about kill the Boer. The same way you dismiss it because in your culture it's offensive. In my culture, Delarey is offensive because.
But there's no action. Sorry for interrupting. You must no. You must discipline me too. If I. You must be the principal.
He can't. He was born during Apartheid. He can never discipline a white person. He can't.
Shots fired.
No, I'm sorry. Even my parents, they like that.
It's okay.
I was born after Mandela was free. Sorry.
My name is Ngamla.
Ngamla, Ngamla Host. That was my dad's name.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because he had a Mercedes Benz.
Okay.
So any person with a Mercedes is called a Ngamla. Yeah.
Continue. Mr. Point.
So Delarey, that song does not once refer. So it's not a political song.
It is.
No, it's not.
It is. It is a song
Where does it
about
get
the
sung?
Boer Republic. Who's Colonel
Generaal.
Who's General? No, but who's General?
It could be anybody.
No, he's an army general.
Yeah,
but
but
I'm talking about in the time of the song. There's an army general, and who is attacking the Boers, the Boer Republic? It's the British.
Yeah.
So it's a song about leading us out of this British detriment and leading us to a victory over them.
Yeah.
So the only way to have a victory over them, all European tribes are like this. They kill each other. They have war, everything, world war, bomb each other.
So show me a place where you have seen 100,000 white South Africans singing that song in unison.
At any
You see,
at a big festival.
that is stereotype.
But
Stereotyping.
I don't think there's a festival of Afrikaners that has 100,000 people. Even the Evils Fantasties, when they do a lift by the dam,
Okay.
it's like.
But what
maybe
I'm
8,000
saying is, it is a song because look, Afrikaners loved to look at history and look at victories that they've had, and I mean it's reminiscing over a period where
Afrikaners have had zero victories.
No, but what I'm saying, where they were suffering. No, well, the Afrikaners have had a lot of victories.
They've overcome suffering. They've overcome, but South Africa, you cannot say is an Afrikaner or white Afrikaner or Dutch descendant dominated country. You understand? And that's also another danger, is that whenever we say the Afrikaners had a victory over us and everything else, you're now justifying things like singing Kill the Boer for cloud chasing, because you're saying that, yeah, but we're doing it in protest.
But the song itself does not once ask for anything or anybody to be killed. It's asking that. So my interpretation of the song is saying, you know, when the British was attacking the Afrikaners, they had phenomenal leaders that were trying to do their best in order to prevent this empire from crushing. And I mean, the British have admitted as much, that one of their fiercest battles and one of their fiercest people that they've gone to war with was against the Afrikaner. So the song...
Not just the Afrikaner. Well, it was Dutch then, but not just the Afrikaners. The Afrikaners and the Zulus. Like, the greatest challenge to the British Empire's expansion was when they came to South Africa and what they found here. Because they came after the Dutch had already
So the song is asking that the Afrikaner needs to once again get to that point where we have quality leaders, people that could look after the interest of Afrikaner. Not once does the song ask for killing of people. Not once.
No, that's true. That's true.
So I mean, I think, look, I get it. I get that people hear De La Rey and they go, oh, look, it's the apartheid people that want to bring apartheid back. No, not at all.
But that's a natural fear. If all your lived experience, my grandmother's lived experience was under apartheid. Everything, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when we have this discussion, right, we need to come to a point where we're like, okay, let the smart black people in the room, the smart white people in the room, have a discussion about how we can prevent those less exposed and less informed than us, right? Let's not call them dumb or stupid. Maybe they just weren't educated properly. They didn't have the resources at home, right? Let's be fair to them. Let us now be the ones that ensure that we spread a message that none of this should ever be taken literally and everything else, so that in the odd case that it happens or someone does something, it's a deranged person and we can isolate that as someone who's got a mental difficulty and not as the beginnings of racial warfare that is now going to lead to deaths and killings and eventual genocide.
Don't you think it's enough for white people en masse to say we don't like this song, that it can just be considered, okay, let's not sing this song?
No, I don't think that white people have the moral authority to speak to black people.
Not demanding it. I'm just saying.
No, even us. I don't. After what black people have been through, I don't think that white people have the right to ask anything of us.
Yeah, but what you're doing is you saying that that white person that was a vile racist in the 80s is exactly the same white person that is now 18 years old and don't like the song.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that what those vile racists did to my family is so detrimental that even 1,000 years from now, my family will feel the effects. Do you understand what I'm saying? So let me put it to you like this, right? I spoke about the genocide that the British committed on the Afrikaners, right? There's a genocide starvation that's been happening in Gaza. right? Now, the reason why we have so much solidarity for what's happening in Gaza is because we've seen it happen to us. In Gaza, they shut down the water. All the water that goes into Gaza comes from Israel, right? My dad is from rural Zanin. I don't know if you know of the Zanin Dam, if you've been to Zanin or anything else. The Zanin Dam, that whole entire thing turns every single thing that is a village where black people live into a desert so that the commercial farmers can export their products. Have you been to any of these commercial farms for oranges or anything else?
Yeah.
Do you know that you can't eat any of the A-grade stuff? You can't touch it.
Yeah.
It's for export. So all the farmers, 100% of the commercial farmers are not about food security in South Africa. They're not about feeding us. None of them.
I disagree with that.
No, it doesn't matter because what matters is their profits and where their money comes from. So their customer is always right. If their customer is white, European, Chinese, whatever the case may be, their main customer, the person that they save their best products for, if that customer is saying, I'm buying these people because these people service me, then we can say that their customer, by choosing them as a source of food, means that that's their source of food. If the Dutch can say our biggest source of oranges, and I use oranges because of orange and Dutch, yes. And
you're liking this color way too much. This color was apparently racist.
Yeah. But we love it. We love it. We love it. I had to wear.
Why did you bring the water, brother?
I had to wear this color for 18 days. I had to get some street cred in this color. So, so now if we take the Dutch saying that all our citrus comes from South Africa.
Cheers.
I'll have sugar-free, sorry. Oh, you had.
Sorry, don't forget your point. Continue.
You picked the same one as Colonel. Is there a reason? Do you like berries or what?
Yeah. White people love berries.
Don't forget your point. Continue.
I used to. No.
We're talking about
I'm divorced now.
oranges.
I get the historical aspect of it, and I want us to focus on the year now for this discussion.
No, but I'm talking about the starvation of black South Africans by removing them. Let's remove the land question because the land is not really such a big issue. Racism is the issue. So that we bring racism into the land debate.
No, the land is a big issue.
No.
But anyway, continue.
Okay. I'll explain to you why.
Okay.
I'll educate you this way because
and then
I wasn't raised under
educate
apartheid.
you because
I wasn't raised under apartheid. So I understand that. If you're raised under apartheid, you think that a black person is supposed to be poor. You understand? As a black person, you see yourself as lesser. It takes a fight for Smuda to come out and be the Smuda that he is today. It took a fight for him to identify as someone that is worthwhile in life, that can contribute to society positively, because all the messaging and everything else, the same way you feel you're being attacked as a young white man who is not in Flak Plus killing blacks, right? Is the same way black people were attacked in the past, and the same way, because of that attack and the criminalization of the black man, that we still feel under attack to this day.
But do you know that majority of white people understand that? Can I explain?
Okay, please, yeah.
What
I don't know.
And okay, so let me just say this on the 10 stages of genocide. Go and Google it, look at the stages. I'm not going to explain it here, but it's there. We are on stage 8 out of 10 for the genocide. So with regards to what you just said there, I can confidently say that the vast majority of white people have a comprehensive understanding of the wrongs that were committed during apartheid and the atrocities that were committed during it.
Okay.
For instance, let me use one example just to show you that I understand. When I was young, I was privileged enough to be able to go to whatever primary school or secondary school I wanted to go to, right? My parents had a car to take me there. So my parents didn't have to get into a taxi twice.
Oh, so you know. Okay,
No,
Let
let
me
me
finish.
finish.
Bro. Sure.
Then in high school, didn't have an issue with maybe living in an area where crime was higher than usual or where you didn't have sports equipment, right? So you could thrive as a cricket player because your school provided you with a kit, right? All of these different levels obviously affected black people in a far heavier way. Completely made it almost impossible for a Siya Kolisi to take place, or for another cricketer, for a black individual to thrive, whether it is in the economy or whether it's in sports or wherever. University, even that aspect. I got a little hand-me-down car from my parents to go to university, and this is where I started having the conversation.
I had one too.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. But that is the beauty of how things, are
Progressing, yeah.
we're getting to that point. But what I'm saying is, I could go to university, like let's say I had a class at 12 o'clock, then I could go and leave home at 11. A young black individual that made it to university against all odds, what they did is they had to take a taxi first thing in the morning. They had to sit there the entire day at university because it would take 3 or 4 taxis for them to get back home. So what I'm saying is, it's these small little things that a lot of people don't take notice of, that a lot of white people understand and comprehend. The race-based laws, all the aspects that picture of a starting block, and then you've got the white guy that's about 30 meters ahead of the black guy.
Yeah.
Completely understand that.
I don't think you do though, but anyway, you'll continue.
No, but
earlier on, I asked you about the race-based laws.
Yeah.
And then you said they are against white.
So, no, but I'll get to that.
Okay, anyway, yeah.
I'll get to that. So let me lead to that.
We're still
then.
at the genocide.
Okay.
No, yeah. So what I'm saying is, a lot of people understand. And I think there's this perception that white people are narrow-minded with regards to that, and they do not grasp the legacy of apartheid, if you will, right? The problem now becomes, and this is where I'll answer your question, is we are now 31 years into a democracy. I'm fully aware that apartheid lasted 46 years and the legacy of it is still with us, right? The question now, however, is, when do we stop blaming apartheid and start blaming the ANC government for their failures? Because
Never.
But you see, so then
The ANC government has got 0 failures. The ANC government, the same way the Boers were put into government by the British during the Union of South Africa, is the same way the National Party government put the ANC into power. So that the ANC will be the gatekeepers, you understand, of
But how
which
can you
blacks
say
can
that they
rise
don't have any
into
fail-
prominence.
So
What I'm trying to say is that
Okay.
the ANC is employed by white capital.
Nah.
Yes. Rupert founded it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who took Mandela out of prison for negotiations? It was the Menels, the Ruperts, the Oppenheimers. All of that came from.
But Nota, that's a cop-out, man.
It's not a cop-out. The
That's a
thing is that
cop-out.
don't treat it like a
No,
conspiracy
but
theory.
provide
because
me with the receipts then.
They are receipts. There's pictures of history.
No, but
There's
where's
history.
the receipts of this? So,
There's meetings. Hold on, wait. Mandela was in Robben Island for 18 years.
yeah.
He went to Victor Verster in Paul. He went to Pollsmoor as well, right? He was released from Pollsmoor. When he was at Victor Verster, right, that's where he was having the negotiations. That's like a year after the state of emergency, right? The state of emergency was 1985, 1986, right? 1987 is when he started having those negotiations, and then Botha's representatives started coming to speak to him. So all I'm saying is that the same way the Boers, the Afrikaners, the former Dutch and French Huguenots, right, were thrown into a certain position, right, of management of the country and the nationhood, is the same way the ANC was thrown into the same position. Now, the thing about white people that I find disturbing is that too many of them associate ANC with black people, as in, I can say ANC voters instead of saying black people. If me saying black people is going to seem racist, I just need to say 30% is ANC voters, what. And that is very wrong, because the ANC does not represent all black people. It never even represented black people. It represented the black elites that wrote to Queen Victoria, that sent a contingent in 1909 to London, a year before the Union of South Africa started, right? To ask that they too have a voice and be represented. The ones who sent their kids to go and study in all the schools in the United States, in the United Kingdom, all that stuff, the Charlotte McCluskers and all of those people, the John Langalibele Dube and all of these people that you speak about, right? These are the black elites. Those are the people that started the South African National Natives Congress, right? It was all very educated, very educated. There was not a Boer as educated as those blacks back then. They didn't have the chance for the education. They just finished trekking. As soon as they trekked and found a nice place where they could chill, and the weather is like a little bit, better as well. No, I'm serious. As soon as they finished trekking,
I know.
the boys didn't. Okay, where's the first boy university?
Yeah, but
they didn't have those. That's what I'm saying.
Reel it in.
No, I'm reeling it in. So I'm just saying.
Let me take a break.
So the Boers did not have like an established.
No, but
proper
we're talking
nationhood.
about the ANC.
No,
and you're
I'm
saying
talking about
the
that.
Okay,
I'm
but
saying that-
why are you going so far
I'm saying that
back?
the reason why is because even when the Boers didn't have doctorates, didn't have PhDs, didn't have people studying in universities, didn't have assistance from their empire that abandoned them in Africa, the British had that. And so did the blacks, because the British and the Americans and all of these other people were helping and giving them a hand up before the Boers, who are then going to be put in the management position of our country's nationhood. So the same way, I don't blame the Boers who are the managers of this oppression and think that I now need to look at you as an enemy and as a killer of my uncles and whatever the case may be. The same way I expect you not to look at the ANC, right? In that same way, as a representation of all black people.
That doesn't help solve the problem. We can talk about, like, I mean, I hear you. Look, are they puppet masters? Of course they are.
Yes.
We know that they are.
Yes.
But the ANC can't be blameless. You said
Okay,
that
the
the
thing
ANC
is this,
is
is
like,
that if we blame the puppets and not the puppet masters, we're not going to get anywhere. We can blame them. Yes, okay, let's agree we can blame them, right?
yeah.
It doesn't help because Rupert is still in charge. Rupert is still going to be the one that speaks last. Rupert is still going to be the one that tells Cyril, hey, listen, you are messing this up for me.
Just watch out. He's going to start closing his doors when he sleep at night now. Eh?
My family used to work for him, you know.
Oh. So you still have a copy of the keys? Joanna, he's here. Eh?
We don't have keys. We don't even have locks.
So listen.
We have curtains. We have mosquito nets. That's the only thing we need to keep out.
So here's the thing. The ANC has failed miserably. Whether, the puppet master, whatever the intention is, the ANC has failed miserably to uplift black people in this country.
Yes.
The question that I once again go back to is, at what point do we stop blaming apartheid and start blaming the ANC government for the failures of why in 2025 a young black child still has got a lot more challenges and hurdles to overcome than an average white child or an average colored child? Why does that white child need to be disenfranchised, need to face hurdles because of a failure by the government and not because of apartheid?
No,
because
it's not because of a failure.
Because
it's because you need to understand, as I'm saying, that the ANC is a puppet. You're giving them too much power. The system that they're presiding over, which replicates the poverty of the black people and keeps reproducing it at a faster rate, is not a system that they are the puppet masters of. It's a system that has been employed to disenfranchise the black person. At the same time, right, the same system that they're employing right now has enriched whites in South Africa. Whites have moved up further and blacks have moved up slow enough that their growth in population now exceeds their growth in prosperity, and therefore more and more kids are being born poor than those that are leaving poverty.
Yeah, but if you take the amount of money that has been stolen by the government over the last 31 years, it's a couple of trillion.
Yeah, but I mean, that is irrelevant because the government makes our money. 88% of our debt is our own debt, right? So what that means is this: I, as Johan Rupert, have got shares in the Reserve Bank, right? Which means that I decide who gets banking licenses and everything else. I give some of those shares to the Nelson Mandela Foundation to buy myself political protection. The Reserve Bank's job is to finance the banks, right? The Reserve Bank prints out all these checks, right? Infrastructure needs to happen, all of the stuff. That doesn't come from your tax money. Your tax money pays the debt afterwards. The debt is issued first, comes from the banks. The commercial banks have climbed over and above the mining companies and all the corporations. Our entire business district has been completely financialized. It's just banks and legal firms in all of Sandton. It's completely financialized and everything else.
And they always have the most beautiful buildings, right?
Now, anything that you see, a building, whatever the case, it comes from a bank. Even your house comes from a bank. The road comes from a bank. Without the banks, nothing exists, right? All of these banks are making money, making a killing, hand over fist. whether it be Capitec, on all these things. They're making this money by continuing and perpetuating the system that creates the Cape Flats with gang murders and all of that stuff, the system that Johan Rupert complains about, benefits him. He's got no incentive to help alleviate that situation.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And it benefits him to the extent that he now can afford to pay for John Steenhuisen to overlook his contributions to the sufferings of South Africans. So that when John Steenhuisen goes out and writes policies, he also writes policies that were not going to help South Africans, but help his funders and his whatever. You could say the same thing about Cyril Ramaphosa. You could say about the same thing about all of these guys in the politics. So now we are owned by these banks. Now, who is the funder of Rupert's banks? It's the Rothschilds, the same people who funded the British Empire that oppressed your people. All I'm saying is that all of us, Boers, Afrikaners, however you want to call it, native South Africans, all of us, colors and everything else, all of us have been oppressed by the Rothschilds banking system, by the central banking system of around the world. A lot of white South Africans are also, becoming more aware of how central banks own these systems. The Union of South Africa started 3 years before the Federal Reserve. The ANC started 1 year before the Federal Reserve. All of these things coincide, right? And the reason why I say like everything that you see is made by a bank, every single thing that you see is made by a bank. The guy who made this microphone had to get all this equipment and all the financing for it from a bank. The bankers run our country. They run the systems. They run our politicians. And we are now being thrown this race card, which is going to make us fight against each other and not cut the strings of our puppet
from the
masters.
top, yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's why we're being fueled into this fight. So that's why for me, I say that kill the Boer, right, is about killing the system. So when Johan Rupert says, I'm the number one target, yes, he's telling the truth, because you're the Ruperts and Rothschilds and whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? You are our oppressor.
Yeah, that's your interpretation of it.
No, that's just the objective facts. Yeah.
But it's your interpretation of it. It doesn't change it. Now, let's say a random guy from wherever in South Africa that don't have formal education, doesn't, let's say he doesn't really understand hyperbole, as an example. He might see that as a completely different aspect to you. Look,
there's no way he doesn't understand hyperbole.
I'm on board with you with that there are people that are controlling what's happening lower down, but it still doesn't excuse the ANC doing what they're doing. An example of this is the race-based laws. Okay. The 142 race-based that we have.
Do you know what
under the name of redress
means?
Sorry?
It means it's hot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like really hot. It's Xhosa. You know what I mean? So you come from GQ. You know what I mean? There's lots of Xhosa speakers there. There's not one person that has heard and thought that that is the literal meaning of that. Okay. So metaphoric understanding, metaphors are part of our language. Everything that we blacks do is metaphoric. That's why even kill the Boer is metaphoric. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the dumbest black person knows the simplest thing, which is their language, understands metaphors and all these things because they grew up with it. You're taught it as a baby. You're actually fed this. The fear that white people have that some deranged black person is now going to be inspired by a song and everything is justified. But it's not justified by the actions of black people. It's justified by the actions of white people and their culture. And that's why when you were telling me about the guy who was writing the stages of genocide and everything else, right? The places where he's observed genocide is predominantly in Western countries, because that's where most of the genocides of the world have started. And
not Rwanda genocide.
The Belgians created Rwanda, created that genocide.
Yeah.
The Belgians created the genocide. It's an unequivocal fact. The genociding, the instinct of genociding people, it comes from Western. It's an invasive species of culture. Do you understand? And it comes from also a geographic location. The same way Afrikaans comes from this geographic location where all of us mix here, that culture of savagery comes from the geographic location of cold Europe. It's a very cold place. It takes a killer to survive that. And that sort of environment and culture, it comes into your DNA. So therefore, if you have always had to kill or be killed, watch out. You're going to pass it on to your children. You're going to pass it on to your great-grandchildren. So the fact that anything that looks like a trigger of war, genocide, or anything else is something that white people feel intrinsically. Like, they can feel it. It's like, when it gets cold and your hair starts rising in your skin.
Goosebumps.
It's goosebumps. White people will always get goosebumps.
Okay.
Can we come to a point where we understand the goosebumps, right? And you also understand that we know what a metaphor and a hyperbole is, and we are all of us, even the dumbest of us, are intelligent enough to not take Kill the Boer as inspiration to kill people, because the history of the song has never been associated with acts of violence.
But yet there's close to 4,000 farm murders since 1994. Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. Not steal the stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's kneecaps.
Yeah.
It is taking blood,
Yeah.
slighting, writing on the wall.
Yeah.
So
there's 5 times as many of that of black murders
Give
each
him a
year.
chance. Let him
yeah,
speak.
for
Let him
sure.
speak,
Okay. How many white farmers are there in South Africa?
40,000 white farmers. Let's
Okay,
say
so
both commercially
4,000
and- Yeah.
Have been killed.
Yeah.
10%.
Yeah.
Show me population-wise.
How
10%
How many white farmers
in that profession.
How many white farmers constitute? Okay. How many? Okay. What percentage of whites are farmers? If 40,000 or 4.5 million,
Well, it's less. I think it's maybe 2 to 3%.
less than a tenth of a percent.
Could be 2 or 3%.
Less than a tenth of a percent.
Okay.
Thousands, 6 zeros.
Yeah, but what are we talking about? here?
So 4 million, right? So how many is 4 million? It's
Okay, but
6 zeros, and
you're getting-
40,000 is so yeah.
Yeah, but you're getting down in the technicalities. We're talking about two things here. We're talking about kill the farmer,
Mhm.
and we're talking about farmers.
What I'm trying to say is this: is that kill the farmer.
So I'm showing to you.
What I'm saying is that if less than 1% of whites are farmers, if you are saying kill less than 1% of whites, 99% of whites should not be offended by people singing about killing 1% of whites.
The issue with kill the farmer is that farmers are being killed. That's the issue.
And so
Out of
black people
the
black people
farmers that are being
killed.
killed, are there more black people being killed in those farms or white people?
More black people.
No, well, the
Sorry, let him
statistics.
answer.
No, the statistics show that most victims are white, but there are black farmers that also. The argument is not necessarily along, it's only white farmers.
But the narrative globally is like we're killing white people.
No,
it's
yeah,
black
but,
people.
but that's
Okay.
once again the media that's
if it was
taken
only
something
black
and
farmers, would you
run
care?
with it, which is exactly what they're doing. So now that the narrative is out there, I don't agree with the majority of the narrative that's out there, and I think a lot of majority of white people don't agree with it either.
What would white people do?
But wait, now the
Yeah.
point that I'm making is, so I know that you've gone historically, and that's all good and well, but the two issues here is we're asking, can the song stop being sung? And the reason for that is because there's close to 4,000 farmers that's been murdered. And if you look at how many white farmers there are,
Insignificant number. Sorry.
but if it was your mother or your father, I mean,
My uncles were killed by Afrikaners.
yeah, but what I'm saying
Let him-
is,
let him-
I'm just
let him
saying,
give
yeah.
him a chance, bro, sure.
when you say insignificant, it's actually to
One
all
life
of
is
those
one life
victims.
too many. Give him a chance to speak, sure.
Yeah.
It could be you. Like, and if I said it's insignificant, your family won't be happy with that. So,
But either way.
no, but what I'm saying is, so 10% of the white farmer population has been killed.
Mhm.
Does that not ring alarm bells? Is that not reason enough to say, guys,
What I'm saying,
even if you've got the most amazing idea of this is not a literal song and it gives us that oomph to, can we just one song,
No.
please?
let me tell you why. Because white people will first put red horns on their cars before they care about one black child that's killed in the Northwest for sunflower. No.
That is
Wait.
stereotyping.
It's not stereotyping. It's not stereotyping. Whether it be Mark Boucher, Kevin Peterson, you name all the prominent white people that South Africans know. When it was rhino poaching and all that stuff, Johan Rupert even wanted to bring drones for the animal poaching. Black people, human beings are being killed, oppressed, and all that stuff. No one cares about that. There's no campaign that is founded by white people to protect them. Let a small, minute percentage of white people be the targets of violence, which affects, in the main, predominantly black people. Out of the 20,000 murders or murder incidents, right? of 20,000 murder incidents. 20,000 murder incidents, 39 occurred on farms, only 7 affected white people. So out of that 39, 32 affected black people. Now, this is the latest stats from, it was from 2023 October up until the end of March 2024, right? So in that period already, whether we're looking at farm murders in general, black people are predominantly affected. So black people should be the ones that are saying, hey, let's stop the farm murders, right? I've got rural grandparents, right? My black grandparents don't have guns or anything else, right? So I'm more under threat of having my family members who are in the rural areas being killed by any invader that wants to take something from them than any white person would be, because white people have got means to defend themselves. They've had policing and all of that stuff historically. And they're also in a better disposition. The same way you say Johan Rupert can sleep peacefully because he's got security and everything else around his area, black people are the least likely to have any of that security, even in the rural areas, right? White people are more likely to have security. Retief Goosen talked about the violence, but he's talked about electric fences as well. Black people do not have that electric fence. When we speak about farms and the violence on farms, black people should be the ones that are most affected by it, most offended by it, because they are the most affected.
They are.
No, they're not offended by it the same way. Let me tell you why. Because the crime that is happening in urban areas also is far worse. It's far safer in rural areas, in general. In rural areas, it's far safer. Everywhere in South Africa. The urban crime, I'm from Joburg. I'm from Jozi. I was born in Parktown, in the center of Johannesburg, where that big tower is that you see in that picture. That's where I was born. You understand what I'm saying? That's my home. That is a very violent place. I was raised in Diepkloof, Soweto. You understand what I'm saying? Very violent place. I've seen people being burnt with tires around their necks. You need to understand that.
Yeah.
I've seen my uncles opening up their boots, grabbing wheel spanners to deal with mpimpis. Do you understand? These are things I grew up with as a child, 3 years old, 4 years old, 2 years old.
That's not right. It's not right.
I used to pick up guns that were hidden by my uncles as a child. Why? Because a child can carry a bag full of guns. No one's going to stop the child. You need to understand that. So from a wartime perspective, I understand the emotion and being under threat. And as a black South African, I understand the reason why we hold white people that feel under threat, under democratic dispensation, with such contempt. How can, after we went through all that we've went through as black people, being threatened and everything else, being oppressed, we've never ever oppressed you. Not once in any history, anywhere in the world has there been white people that have been oppressed, never mind genocided by black people. It's never happened. It's never happened. It's an impossibility. Sorry, my dad keeps calling me, and I don't know.
Shouldn't you answer it?
No. It's fine. He's probably just checking up on me, you know.
Jeez, we've got 5 minutes. How long have we been recording? Have we done 2 hours?
Nah,
Hour and a half. We haven't done 2 hours. Bro, this is Ronaldo and NOTA. We're supposed to have been ready, bro.
Nah, charge the batteries somehow. We need to continue. Make a plan, right?
Pause then stop charge.
It's fine. We're gonna keep this part.
5 o'clock flight, which means he needs to leave here at 3.
Yeah.
Because he has to be at the airport an hour before his 5 o'clock flight. What time is the flight?
My flight is 4:45.
4:45. It's even 15
boarding.
minutes early.
Boarding is 4:45.
Yeah.
Hold on. Where's your? Didn't you bring him a text?
By the way, guys, give Ronaldo some props. We've been speaking about him a couple of episodes. He decided to fly strictly to Joburg for this episode. So big up for that.
But we didn't say anything that offended you.
No.
Okay, good. Because also I was careful.
Dude, I was
critical
in
of
politics, dude. I've got a thick skin.
Okay, listen. I also didn't like.
Because I still want to speak about.
No, we're going to
Human Rights Commission issue for both of them.
We'll do that after.
They can't tell me to sell it 5 minutes.
No,
guys.
I need a bathroom break. Ronaldo also is crossing his legs, so he needs a bathroom break.
Okay. Let's take a break here. We'll have a part 2. It's fine. Yes.
The first time.
Yes.
First time for a part.
Yes.
Hold on.
Let's have a break here because I know they're gonna want a part 2. Let's leave it.
No,
here.
let's continue. Let's put them together. Okay.
Let's make them want a part 2. Let's leave it here. It's okay.
Okay.
We'll have a part 2.
Yeah,
I don't want him missing his flight. It's gonna cost him a couple of thousands. I also don't.
Another hour will be fine.
No, it's fine. Let's cut it here. So we have another.
Okay.
One. Yeah.
So okay, now let's have a part 2. I just want to conclude on a couple of things. Just
yeah, we're all gonna look forward to that. So because there's so many things I also still wanted to ask about.
I just want to say,
yeah,
when it comes to the race-based laws or whatever it is, right? You'll never get any sympathy from black people. Black people, non-white people are 93% of the population. There's no way 7% of the population is going to even convince 50% of 93% to vote against laws that are supposed to redress the oppression that they faced already, which is something that they know, they experience, their grandchildren inherit, right? So there's no way you can convince
So let
them.
me answer whenever you say something.
Yeah.
My answer to that is I call out bullshit. I do think that there are actually quite a lot of black people that do not like that because it's not in human nature to want to see somebody suffer or see somebody not get what they want.
No, I'm just saying in general, as a group in South Africa,
percentage-wise.
not even percentage-wise.
No,
hold on. I just want to get you because we have to be quick. So if we look at white people, right? Anyway, their highest income earners, highest standard of living, all of those things. If you look at black people, lowest of everything. The only people that are suffering in South Africa are black people. And while black people are suffering, you'll never, ever have them be sympathetic to anything that is not helping them get a leg up to survive or to compete better against the people that are thriving in comparison to them. So you'll never get that point. So I understand that.
Do you know that the black middle class is bigger than the entire white population? You know that, right?
It's irrelevant.
And when you talk about Johan Rupert,
it's irrelevant because the black middle class is a minority amongst blacks. So no, that's my thing, is that you want us to accept that the only ones of us, right, in that opinion, I'm not saying that this is your belief, but this is your understanding, because you also come to a certain understanding because of the things that you experience, right? You want us as black people to accept that a minority of us are able to afford to live. The rest of us need to live in generational debt and
I don't want that.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's what you want for us. I'm saying you want us to accept it, and we are refusing to accept it. You understand? The fact that all of these policies only rise up a minority of blacks means that they don't help the majority of blacks. So even though you're complaining about these policies, they're making it better for blacks, right? And if you're saying, no, let's remove these policies.
How is it making it better for black people?
Because some of us are rising up. No, I hear you. In general, yes. No.
Cadres, bro.
No, you must remember. We're speaking to the audience, right? You and I are scientific about this. People are emotional about it, right? So what I'm trying to explain to you is the emotional part of it. So I'm saying your scientific response to saying these laws are racist scientifically because of this, with the best science, you'll never make them believe it.
But even on emotional, it's not uplifting. How can these policies possibly uplift people if our unemployment rate is higher than ever before? We've got an expanded unemployment rate of 46%.
Answer can only come from who? Johan Rupert.
No, but you see,
the thing is this: stop
you're
dismissing
taking all
that
credibility away from the ANC.
When I say Johan Rupert, I'm not saying white people. You need to understand the difference. I'm
not seeing it like that.
The thing is that the racism comes in so much that anytime you say you point at a white person that's in leadership and that's creating the perception is that it's the next step and then he's going to blame me because I'm white. No. We're not saying. All of us, whites, blacks, Indians, coloreds, all of us, right? Majority are poor, middle class, or lower than rich, right? Majority of us. All of us share that in common. The elite put this racism cat, you know what I mean, in our swimming pool. And it scratches all of us. All of us come out scarred.
Because they get what they want and everybody else
argues. Now when we come out scarred and we open our eyes, you've got scratches on your face, I've got scratches on my face, it must have been you that did it, right? And we fight amongst ourselves. We're not moving this country forward. All of the things that motivate why we think that are irrelevant, because we're not actually getting at the guy that's setting up this whole entire play. We need to be telling you and I'm still younger than you, but I'm no longer a youth. I'm 35 now. We're grown. There's young boys that are growing up. You understand? You and we need to lead our younger brothers. The same way our older brothers taught us how to talk to women and all those types of stuff, we need to lead our younger brothers to now desist from any of these things. And instead of telling the older people and everyone else to stop singing, kill the boy, let's forget about them. Because they've got their own beliefs, they've got their own emotions. We're not going to be able to convince them, right? Let's start with these young ones. Let's say, okay, fine, you're seeing all of this. But when we go into the schools, is Ronaldo and Hlamulo coming to your school and saying, after the rugby match today, we want to talk to all the young boys and talk to them about, racial incitement and all of these things and how we can build a cohesive society. Then we're actually working. Then we're actually lobbying. Then when Trump speaks right? About the people that have got 100,000 stadium. We can also say, yeah, we also filled Ellis Park with high school kids, and look at them, multicultural.
All right, time is gone. We're
there.
going to have a part 2. Let's cut it here.
Okay.
3 minutes to go, 90 seconds each. We remove the ANC from power. Is that the solution? What's the solution?
No, what we need to do is we need to ensure that we actually put somebody, because if you replace the ANC, the issue necessarily isn't the ANC. It goes deeper than that. It's about what is accepted in this country and what people can get away with. I mean, if you look at the responsibility of the Zondo Commission, it was to find who stole all that money. And yet, not one person has been arrested. So it's more than the ANC. It's more than black. It's more than white. What we need to look at is we need to understand that apartheid was there. It had devastating consequences. But if you're going to constantly look in the rear view mirror, what's going on behind you, you're going to have another accident in front of you. We need to come together and build a nation together, white, black, colored, Indian. We need to understand each other's pains. We need to understand what each of us went through and move from there. And I'll agree with you. We need to look at the people at the top that's in charge of the politicians, of the media. We definitely need to do that. But what's important for us, for our youth, is to set an example. And we can't set an example if we're still singing Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer in 2025.
Thank you. Can I please hold it there? Nota?
Okay, cool. Look, the political parties are singing Kill the Boer. It's not normal civilians that are doing it. They're doing it as a political thing. Address that with them and don't blame all black people and everything else. And even if black people are sympathetic to the singing of the song and say that it shouldn't be banned, don't take that as meaning that they endorse it, because we've seen the stats, we've seen the polls, for only 40% of, over 40% of EFF voters don't agree with the singing of the song. And the voters of all other political parties in the main and in the majority don't believe in the singing of the song. The ANC, which started the song, has abandoned it, right? Let us leave the Kill the Boer issue aside and stop falling for Julius Malema's traps, and let's start talking young, old, black and white.
40 seconds to go. We're going to have a part 2. Your Human Rights Commission case, 20 seconds.
Well, I apologized, and I've apologized many times before, and I truly am sorry for using the K and the N-word. I hope that if people actually find the entire video instead of the 15-second snippet, they can kind of understand what my intention was. But if you were offended, if I hurt you, I apologize for that. That wasn't my intention.
Are you sincere?
Well, I mean, I've apologized 4 times, and I've never said if or but. So I am. And I really do. If you're watching this, and if the apology...
You also never said...
Hold on, let me finish.
Sorry?
You also
I'll
never
give you a
said
chance just now.
Okay. If you are offended, and if you think that I am a racist, I'm not going to be able to change your mind. What I can do is ask that you look at my content on YouTube and look what I've done as an individual since 2010 after the video, and then perhaps see who I am in 2025. Thanks.
Thank you. Nota, Human Rights Commission?
Yeah, no. So I also apologized. It's a sincere apology. I mean it. I have not repeated the offenses that I was cited for. You understand? And my observation is that you have not repeated any of the offenses that you were cited for. I haven't heard you say the N-word. I've said it maybe 6 times and you didn't join me. You know what I mean? You don't want to say nigga?
No.
Come on, Nota. I had to ask you. You don't want to, just a little bit, okay? Pause. You want to say nigga? It's just us. The cameras are
Part 2 is coming. Part 2 is coming.
That was dope.
Guys, next time, charge your batteries.
It's all good.
Yeah, I need to pee. I need to pee. Hold on.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you.